Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Fantasy Football Expo podcast series. We are so close. We are literally weeks away from this. Probably by the time this gets put out, it'll probably be even closer. Yeah. But it doesn't matter because we've got another great guest tonight. And here's the cool thing. Now, this guy has been to the Expo, but now he went last year but as an attendee. This year, he's coming as an exhibitor. Folks, I wanted to introduce you, Maxwell Loeb, or I guess we'll call you Max. Sorry, I kept calling you Maxwell in the email. So Max Loeb. Max, welcome. You have a Browns hat on, but I think we know a little bit of a different story of what that's all about. So again, thank you for coming on. Pleasure to have you. Talk about what the Browns and how this all comes together, as well as who you are and what you're about.
Yeah, well, it is kind of a wild backwards story, but I appreciate you leading that in because it's kind of made me who I am, and it's helped me do what I'm doing. I am wearing a Browns hat. Part of what I do for work is talk about the Browns on Honor the Land. It's a relatively new account. I'm sure the Ohio people know Chef Zay, another very popular Cleveland Browns creator. We do it together. We very, very recently started it, but I'm living out in Cleveland, Ohio. I went to John Carroll University. I graduated in 2023. And I've been doing full-time content creation on my main account, Loebs Leads. Well, I've been doing it for 5 years, but I've been doing it full-time since I graduated. So just over a year since I graduated. But yeah, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. My whole family grew up in New Jersey. So we've had Giants season tickets all over the place. Giants season tickets for a long time. And I grew up a Giants fan. I will always have those two very fateful days where the Giants beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl to hang over my friends' heads. But other than that, that's all I really got as a Giants fan, especially as of late, which, I mean, hey, if I can die a happy man watching my team win one Super Bowl. I'm very lucky for two, but hopefully the Browns are next. Hopefully
as a Browns fan, we still have zero. Exactly. We don't even have an appearance in the Super Bowl yet. So
hey, that could change. Could change this year. You never know.
Maybe if Deshaun Watson could play like Deshaun Watson, we might have a shot. We'll see.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll definitely crossing fingers there. No, great story. Love that. So talk about, you mentioned, you've been doing some stuff for a while. Talk about when you got into fantasy football. Who was the person that kind of like, hey, you want to try this? And, friend, relative, neighbor, whatever. And what year was it? And when did you start playing fantasy football?
Yeah, it was one of my neighbors, my childhood neighbors. The first league I ever did was his family league. And
okay.
I mean, him and I are two of the most passionate people just about football in general I've ever met in my life. So we love to talk about it. We love doing it. And just kind of asked me, would they had an extra spot in their family league? You want to do it? I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? I can't remember the exact year, like the number. It was the first season Peyton Manning was on the Broncos because I remember very, very vividly week one going up against the team that had Peyton Manning way through 7 touchdowns against the Ravens. So that was kind of a bad intro to fantasy football, and I didn't do great that year. But from there on out, I played every single year, was in multiple leagues every single year, and I absolutely love it. I love the analytics, the numbers, and the data behind it all. And as I've grown, I was a student assistant on the John Carroll football team. As I've grown to understand the schematics of a lot of things too, combining that with the data has kind of allowed Loebs Leads to take a really unique approach in its fantasy analysis and its fantasy breakdowns and just film breakdown as well to create the best possible predictors, analysis, I guess, for different fantasy players, teams, and how that'll affect their fantasy value, things like that.
No, that sounds awesome. So that's great. So you played for a long, long time. Obviously, like you said, you're an analytic guy. I'm an accountant by day, so yeah, I'm a number guy as well. But talk about that transition from playing, analyzing for yourself towards creating this Loebs Leads. When did it start? What is it about? Why is it different than other sites? And if you want to throw some examples, you certainly may. Talk about, what your new thing's all about and where people can find you now if they want to check it out before they get to the expo as well.
Yeah, well, people can find me on all socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. It's at Loebs Leads, LOEBSLEADS. And all the content is essentially the same across the platform. Some unique content on different platforms, but not a ton. But Loebs Leads is unique in the sense that my team, my account provides a very in-depth, again, analytic-based, but also film and schematic-based approach to fantasy football, but a little bit of sports betting, a little bit of film breakdown, while also understanding the fact that almost every single person who plays fantasy football, who watches football, we all share so many commonalities. So I'm not wearing the sweatshirt now, but I do have merchandise that will be at the expo for sure.
Nice.
Talking about the things that we all share in common. My best selling piece of merchandise last year was a sweatshirt that said in 3 lines, coffee, red zone, repeat, all down the front. We all live lives, 12 wings, 1 couch, 7 hours of football. Those are some of the best selling taglines, I guess. But Loebs Leads is an analysis-based company account content creation with a very, very clear understanding and demonstration of we are all in the same boat, regardless of what we do by day. When Sunday rolls around, when Thursday night or Monday night rolls around,
right,
we are all very, very similar people focused on the same things, looking at the same things. So it's been really cool to see Loebs Leads kind of pivot in that direction, as well as the analysis that I've been doing for a really long time. So it's been a lot of fun. I've been very fortunate to see the growth that I've seen as well. It's cool doing this full time, especially out of college, but I'm very, very blessed in that sense. And it's been really cool to grow the community of people, because at the end of the day, it's a community of very like-minded individuals. And I know we talked a little bit briefly about the expo. Like, everybody at the expo they're very similar, at least in one way or another, that we all play fantasy football. We all are very passionate. We love it. And Loebs Leads is kind of an encapsulation of everything outside of fantasy analysis to the lives we live and everything in between.
You talked about your team. Who else how many people do you have that do they have different roles? How does that all come to play with your team?
So I say team very loosely, because Loebs Leads really just is me. Like, there's nobody employed, or there's nobody, I guess, formally under the umbrella of Loebs Leads like that.
Right.
No, like I am the sole owner.
That's cool.
But I am very, very fortunate that my parents both work in a world where they kind of, like, my mom a little bit with consulting. My dad does independent projects where he'll work on things for a year or two. Like, I'm very much surrounded by my parents who are in the same world of a little bit of a different job field, where, it's not a traditional 9 to 5. You're not going Monday through Friday. So I've been very lucky to learn from them in that sense as well.
Sure.
I do have an agent and a management team. They are absolutely awesome. And obviously, with my Honor the Land stuff, I now work with Chef Zay, who's, again, I'm sure the Browns fans, the Cleveland locals know him. But I also collaborate with a lot of people across the internet, like just going on different podcasts, talking to different people who are in the same space as me. It's weird doing this independently because you don't really have coworkers. But when you get into those calls, you talk about things with different people, like, you get that sense that they are coworkers. So Loebs Leads technically is just me. I'm the sole owner of it, but so many people have helped me get here. And honestly, I wouldn't be here without the people who support me in the sense of following and, liking and sharing my content as well. That's the big factor in all of this.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. You said, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, that you were at the expo last year. And so talk about you. We'll get to you as an exhibitor for this year, but let's talk about being there last year, what your expectations were, what you thought, what you came away from, any improvements like we can do. But yeah, talk about your experience last year at the expo for your first year.
Yeah, so I believe the first day was Friday, maybe.
It starts Friday night with the party.
Yes. So I registered kind of late, so I didn't really do anything on that Friday, but I got in. It was cool to see everybody gathered together, getting their bags, talking to each other, meeting people. I had no expectations. Like, I did not know what to expect in any sense, and I'm kind of glad I did, because I talked with some companies that I had worked with or was planning on working with throughout the season, met a lot of really cool people. Watched the flag football game this year. There will likely be a Loebs Leads team playing in it, so that'll be fun.
Okay. Yeah, hurry.
Yeah, I know. It's getting soon. But it was really cool to meet a lot of people, especially on Saturday, in the more social sense, where, you got a sense for who the people were. You got a sense for how they interacted with others as well. Like, there were some other people who I met who were in the same space as me. And, I've been in a fantasy league with a couple of those guys for a couple years before that, but I had never met them. So that was really cool to interact with them, to meet a lot of new people. And then Sunday, the actual expo day with the booths and the exhibit. Oh my gosh, that was that's the most fun I've had in a long time in the fantasy football space because, again, you get to meet new people, and I love meeting people. I love talking to people, but you really get to enjoy and get a sense for, again, a community. I feel like I'm broken record here, but it's a community of people who are like-minded, who are very passionate about the same thing. And it's super cool just seeing everybody together surrounded by, this encapsulation of really a game or an entertainment display. That's really, really cool to see, especially now, again, as somebody who does this as his job. Like, there's a group of really, really passionate people. It makes me really, really comfortable to know what I'm doing is good.
Cool. As a fan, talk about what you learned at the expo. There's a lot of panels, a lot of things. One of the things I say, first off, we're all fans. We're all fans of everybody.
Oh yeah.
I can learn from you. You can learn from me. That's what's great about this industry is you might have an insight because of your connection with the Cleveland Browns. I do the consistency stuff. This person, whatever. We all have our thing, but tell people, because interestingly enough, I don't get a lot of people who played fan first and then So talk about as a fan, what you got out of those panels, the knowledge, the unique twist, whatever that you felt like you absorbed and made it worth your while to be there, even if it was just on Sunday as a fan.
As a fan, I'd say it's probably two or three things. Number one, and I'll say it quick because I've said it before, there's just knowing that there are so many other people who, like you said, Bob, have so many different unique perspectives on the same game that we all love.
And the same players.
Same players. It's the same everything. It really is. But everybody is, they do different things during the day. Like I know you said you're an accountant, you're a numbers guy. Right. That matters a ton. Maybe some people aren't as great with numbers and, they can use that to help them as a fantasy player, but they can use their strengths in another way. Or
they play football, and so they know the whole X's and O's better than I do.
Exactly. And honestly, like that's something that's really, really interesting in the space as well. And I think I'm doing my best to do that, but I think there's a lot of other people who are also implementing that, which is really cool. But coming back to that, it's just all the unique avenues that people have to talk about fantasy football creates a really strong community. As a fan, just seeing a community of people was awesome. The second thing, and I worked with the fantasy doctors a little bit in the past, understanding.
Dr. Jesse Morris.
Dr. Jesse Morris. He's the man. He is so smart. I sat there for probably 20, 25 minutes listening to him talk about soft tissue injuries with running backs, just some other general injury stuff, trends with running backs, because that's obviously the most popular position when you talk about the injuries.
Right.
I learned so much, and I totally would not have gotten that information if I didn't sit in on that panel.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. And I also think the third thing, and this is partially as a fan, but partially as like a content creator and somebody who's working with different companies, there are so many little nuances to fantasy football like that you would never, ever think of. Like it's such a cool space because, there are those unique perspectives, but there are the little nuances in, trade analyzers. There are the little nuances in one-on-one phone calls with a fantasy consultant, which I was able to do throughout the year, which was really cool. There's so many different avenues of fantasy football that you wouldn't think of. And it's so much more than, setting your lineup a couple hours before the game and just hoping your team does well. It was really cool to see how deep this game goes. And I think it's only going to continue to get deeper.
Yeah, like you said, and now you bring in prop bets, sports betting, now that's legal in Ohio. Last year was our first year. This year we're doing this special sports betting Saturday at the Dome from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., 4 hours of all sports betting. So, obviously if you want to get involved now, you'll have your booth obviously active as well. But, you said you mentioned you had a little bit of background in that. So, we're looking for folks or panelists on those as well. So we'd love to, we'll talk a little more afterwards, but talk about now you as Loebs Leads, easy for me to say, coming to as an exhibitor, what you got planned for your booth, giveaways, promotional items, coupons, whatever the case may be. Talk about what you got planned.
Yeah. So the plan for the booth, at least, is to have that encapsulation of the fantasy community. And it's going to look a little bit different in the sense that there's probably going to be a lot going on. The main promotional thing, if you will, that I'm going to be doing is merchandise. I'm going to have the sweatshirts talking about Coffee Red Zone Repeat, talking about eating wings, sitting on your couch. I know there's going to be a lot of Cleveland people there, so I will have Browns specific gear as well. So
Sure.
there will absolutely be merchandise to purchase as well as give away with some little challenges that we're going to do. But we'll also have a little bit of a display of the analysis that Loebs Leads is, almost like a repeated video of the content that I have done, from numbers analytics to film breakdown to, again, that general community. I think one of the best things to talk about, and everybody always has their 2 cents about it, is fantasy punishments. I think we will totally talk about that. I'm also going to have a whiteboard that you can actually see it behind me right there.
Okay.
Where everybody will give their best fantasy punishment. Like, it's going to be that total encapsulation of what fantasy football is, because it's a lot of numbers, it's a lot of breakdowns, and that is all well and good. It's very important. It's what keeps Loebs Leads going. But at the end of the day, we're a community of people that are the same. We're a community of people that like a lot of the same things as well. So that total encapsulation is going to be really, really cool.
No, I love it. And looking forward to it. Looking forward to you coming down and, hanging out with all of us again this year and being a bigger part of this as being an exhibitor. Do you have any questions for me? You've been to this once, anything you have a question for me in regards to the expo or that weekend or anything like that before we take off here?
Yeah. The only thing I would say is, like, I know we talked about the specific sports betting Saturday. It's from 11 to 3, I believe you said Saturday. Right. Is there anything else that's new that myself as well as anybody else should be on the lookout for?
No, that's the only thing we added. And even that is squeezing in because we have King's Classic drafts going on in the hall. We have draft night out going on at Brew Kettle. But the problem was that that's only 200 people and we have 750. So we 550 people had nothing to do. Not nothing to do. They could have toured the hall. But they've all done that multiple times over the last couple of years. So that's when, and then on the other side, I had people like, hey, we should do more sports betting. I'm like, yeah, I agree. So that's kind of how it's all created. But no, Friday party, stuff, the new sports betting Saturday. We got flag football. So get your team in as soon as possible, because I think I'm going to start, really pushing to get as many teams as we can get, and then, Saturday night party in the stadium, and then, of course, the 6-hour expo on Sunday in the Dome. So, everything is going to really be focused around the village, Hall of Fame Village, outside of the party downtown on Friday night. But, good question. And, I don't think there's anything too new. I mean, we're going to have the cornhole tournament at the Friday party. We're going to have a beer pong tournament at the Saturday party, which we kind of always do anyway. So just, a lot of fun. And, I say it's kind of like a family reunion, frat party, fantasy football expo all thrown together into one weekend.
Yeah, no, that's what I got the sense of. Like I said, I wasn't really there much last Friday, but Saturday I spent a lot of time at the stadium that night. It was like, it's like I'd never met a lot of those people before, right? And I'm sure a lot of people who are coming, if they've met them, it's been over the internet or it's not been a ton in person. Right. But you would think they've known each other for a decade. Like everybody talks about it.
That's why I call it the family. That's the family reunion part.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, hey, Uncle Bob, Uncle Bill, Jim, cousin Jim. It's like that because, everybody's excited. Everybody's really looking forward to seeing each other again, hanging out, throwing down some adult beverages or not, and, just enjoying the weekend.
Yes.
And, and on the side, you learn a little bit about, sports betting and fantasy football. And like I said, as a fan, I can't imagine any more fun than coming to this and hanging out with all the big names that you follow, whether it's Jeff Manns or Bob Harris or, Dave Richards from CBS or Matt Harmon from Yahoo. I mean, all those guys are going to be there.
Yeah.
You could talk perception with Matt Harmon. Does it get any better than that? I don't think so. So, in fact, he's doing a panel specifically on Sunday about reception perception. So I'm really honored that he is going to do that for us. So that should be a huge hit. So really, that's going to be fun. So, if that's all you got, Max, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, the site, all that great stuff, social media wise, and then we'll take it out from there.
Yeah. So all of my links to the merchandise website will be on the social medias. Chances are, whatever social media you have, I'm on. Same handle at Loebs Leads, LOEBSLEADS. And if anybody's local, if anybody's a Cleveland native or a Browns fan or both, Honor the Land is our new Cleveland sports account. It has been rapidly growing in the past 3 months. So I would definitely follow it if you're local. We will also be giving away the 5 extra tickets that we have to the expo on that account. So it's just HONORTHELAND on, again, all the socials. All the links for our other merchandise, other websites for that will be in our social media bios as well.
Yeah, no, awesome. So they're giving away 5 one-day tickets. So if you just want to come Sunday, it's $20, covers $20. If you want to come for the whole weekend, it's $20 off of the package. Whatever you want to do for coming from out of town or in town, whatever the case may be, definitely check that out. Thank you for that. Once again, Bob Lung, the fantasyfootballexpo.com. Get your tickets. It's coming soon. It's really close. So don't miss out on that. Of course, when I click this button, you'll see all the socials for Fantasy Football Expo. So again, Max, thanks you for being a part of this. Looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks, and we'll take it out for there. So everybody, for Max, I'm Bob Lung. Take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.